You're welcome to Ogtv Comprehensive News. I am Mojisola Shulaja. Our main stories. Ogun government maps out strategies for schools upgrade. Ogun Assembly tax police on land grabbing law implementation. Power generation sinks to 3,356 megawatts. And counterclaims trail airlifting of poisoned Russian Alexei Navalny. Believe you can, and you're halfway there.
And on sport news tonight, one athletics body mauls Tokyo Olympic Games without fans. I'll be back for more sporting stories much later on the news. My name is Moses or Jewumi. Stay with us.
Once again, welcome to the news. Ogun State's Joint Monitoring Team, comprising Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, Teaching Service Commission, and the State Universal Basic Education Board, inspected some schools in Igbesa, Aduodota, local government area of the state for renovations and upgrading. Leading the team, the Special Advisor to the Governor on Primary and Secondary Education, Mrs. Ronke Shoyombo, assured of urgent intervention in all schools visited, appealing to the Old Students Association, Parents Teachers Association, communities and school administrators to work in tandem with government to improve the state of the schools. The special advisor said there was need to have a clear action on what needs to be put in place in some of the schools, while calling on people in the area to take more responsibilities by supporting the schools and also ensure adequate care of facilities provided.
The conduct of WASC examination, and people have really done well. And we've seen that a lot of people have complied, particularly with COVID-19 rules. Not only that, we have come with a very complete team, because we've also been able to monitor some of our renovations and constructions going on in schools, in both secondary and junior schools, both secondary and primary schools. We've also been able to identify where we have more teachers, where we're very lopsided, or where we are underutilizing resources. So that has really made a lot of impact on us, because you will see that strategic changes have come today. And our children, when they come back to school, when we fully come back, children would actually get a better impact of what visit we have done today.
The Minister of Forestry, Honorable Tunji Akinyosi, and all students of Imala Comprehensive High School, Igbesa, who was also on the ground during the inspection, appreciated the intervention in schools across the state, promising to spearhead provision of some of the facilities needed and also get citizens of the communities to donate towards the betterment of the schools. Speaking, the principals of junior and senior schools, Igbesa High School, Mrs. Olukemi Adiogun and Mrs. Olajumoke Johnson, respectively lauded government for the visit, appealing for implementation of more projects and programs capable of uplifting educational standards in the state. It has been observed that from birth to age 18, children spend just a fraction of their lives in school. It is not surprising that many factors outside the school environment can significantly influence student prospects for academic success in schools. In this special report, Kunle Ibikunle takes a look at the causes and effects of out-of-school students and the way out. Details are in this package.
According to the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, the challenge in Nigeria is that 1 in every 5 of the world's out-of-school children is in Nigeria, despite the fact that primary education is officially free and compulsory. About 10.5 million of Nigerian children aged 5 to 14 years are not in school. Only 61% of 6 to 11-year-old regularly attend primary school, and only 35.6% of children aged 36 to 59 months receive early childhood education. A diverse array of issues are said to be some factors against students willing to drop out of school, including, but not limited to, parents' beliefs and expectations about education, the availability and quality of childcare, and family economic status.
I will look at it from angle of poverty. Today, an average youth in our society believes in this issue of get rich quick syndrome.
At the lower level, the school system may not be interesting to a newcomer. And so, both the teachers and the parents, we have to contribute to making the new environment, that is, the teaching learning environment, conducive to the learner. Because the young child, the pupil, is changing environment. That's why it needs to be a bit pampered, a bit encouraged.
Even if you go around where people are learning arts and crafts, you hardly find apprentices there. This is due to the fact that our value system has changed. And there could be so many causes. Irresponsible parenting. In our own days when we were growing up, you take pride in people attending higher institutions because even before they finish, you even know that the future was bright for them already.
Respondents who spoke with Ogtv News crew identify household composition, socioeconomic status, and parents' level of education as predictors of students' educational attainments.
So government is actually encouraging a lot of people to come back to school. The school feeding program was recorded to be a part of something to push children towards going to school.
Speaking on the effects on the national development and solution to the challenges of out-of-school students, they call on government at all levels to create enabling environments for students to enjoy learning.
People are no more interested in learning. They will tell you, my brother, my sister who passed out 4 or 5 years ago, where is he or she today? But unlike those days, even during the NYC time, industries, ministries, local government will come to them to recruit, and they easily get all the basic things of life.
They added that when children are out of school, the idleness leads to the increase in social vices and community crime rates.
The Ogun State government has reiterated its commitment towards the healthy living and well-being of the people of the state amidst the deadly pandemic, calling on religious leaders across the state for better improvement in ensuring strict compliance with global COVID-19 preventive protocols as outlined. To this end, the present administration in the state has embarked on a monitoring tour across the state to inspect the compliance level of worship centers as well as the congregants, all in a bid to contain the spread of the deadly virus amongst the people of the state. Speaking while rounding off the exercise at the Shagamu Central Mosque, a member of the task force and Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Dr. Tony Taiwo, who expressed optimism for better improvement in some of the worship centers visited, advised the religious leaders to regularly engage their members on laid-down preventive guidelines in order to collectively flatten the curve of the pandemic for the safety of every person in the state.
So far, so good. All where we have done, they've all complied, and we have told every one of them that this is to the interest of the people. The government is not hunting anybody. The government is not against anybody. We are not against any worshippers. We're only trying to do it for the safety of all the people and the community. Their safety is paramount to His Excellency. Their safety is paramount to the government of Ogun State.
Secretary of the Task Force and Permanent Secretary, Bureau of Cabinet and Social Service, Alhaji Olariwaju Saka, advised the religious leaders on the entrance and exit modalities and the need to place information materials at designated places, while emphasizing the need for periodic decontamination of the centers before and after each worship service. In the separate responses, the chairman, Ijebode Central Mosque, Dr. Taufik Salisu, reeled out preventive measures undertaken by the worship center to reduce the spread, assuring of better improvement towards strict adherence to the COVID-19 stated guidelines. Also, the Noibi Imam Shagamu Central Mosque, Al-Haji Muniru Sabitu, who expressed satisfaction with the monitoring exercise by the state government, reassured the task force members that worship centers will fill the gaps observed, promising of total compliance forthwith. Ogun State Government House Mosque Okegbeyi Abeokuta has observed a first post-COVID-19 lockdown Jumat service following the reopening of worship centers in the state. The service, which coincidentally was the first in the Muslim Hijra calendar 1442 AH, had the COVID-19 protocols in place to ensure strict compliance to government laid down measures on the reopening of worship centers. The Chief Imam Alhaji Adam Tiamiyu, represented by his deputy Alhaji Sharif Din Pelewura, said the COVID-19 pandemic came with a lot of lessons for Muslims and the entire human race, highlighting the need for more proactiveness, economic stamina, and most importantly, the fear of Allah in all endeavors.
We should obey Allah, obey the Prophet, and the ruler, that is the leaders. So this thing has been, is a command from Almighty Allah that what Allah says, we should follow it. What Prophet Muhammad says, we should follow it. And what our leaders, people that we elected in the position of leader, whatever they ask us to do, we should make sure we do.
Adam equally enjoined the congregation to observe and follow government measures, which he noted was in the interest of all, praying for the success of Prince Dapo Abiodun-led administration in the state. Chairman of the mosque, Alhaji Azan Adekunle, who spoke through Alhaji Sharif Den Pelewura, said the COVID-19 protocols were strictly adhered to, expressing confidence that the congregation were equally well informed and ready to continue to obey government's laid-down measures. The Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Olakunle Olomo, has charged the State Police Command to set machineries in motion to rid the state of criminal elements, including cultists and land grabbers. Right Honorable Olomo gave the charge while hosting top management of the police hierarchy in the state, led by the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Edward Ajogo, at the Assembly Complex, Okemoson, Abeokuta. Kola Wole-Osho's report is presented in this package.
Ogun State House of Assembly, in its bid to ensure that residents of the state continue to maintain law and order, had a strategic meeting with the Commissioner of Police and top hierarchy of the police in the state. Speaker Right Honorable Olakunle Olomo maintains that the police has the capacity to implement to the letter the provisions of the anti-land grabbing law passed by the 8th legislature in the state, stressing the need for the command to begin immediate arrest and prosecution of criminals parading themselves as land grabbers.
Issue of courtesy. It happens everywhere in the state. Good enough we have a law to that effect. But it's rather unfortunate that ever since, hardly do we hear of any conviction in that respect. Please, do everything within your power to help us eliminate this from our society.
The Speaker added that the police command could reintroduce amnesty for cultists to renounce their membership from cult groups and submit their weapons, adding that anyone found to be engaging in cultism thereafter should be arrested and prosecuted. According to him, members of the Ninth Assembly were irrevocably committed to promoting peace and tranquility in all parts of the state, hence would continue to synergize with the executive arm of government to canvass for more support in terms of equipment and other logistics. Earlier in his remarks, Commissioner of Police in the state, Mr. Edward Ajogu, states that he had passionately committed himself towards achieving crime control, prevention of civil disorder, riot control, having improved on the template inherited from his predecessor, with a view to improving and sustaining the peace and tranquility being enjoyed in the state.
As a first policy, we have also adopted community policing in the state. We need to continually be monitoring the public conduct of our men so that at least it suits international best practices, their actions, their decision, their behavior, and indeed the general attitude towards policing in command meets our own professional ethics.
He, however, commended the state government and members of the State House of Assembly for the logistic support to the State Police Command in the past, requesting for more collaboration for effective security.
Still to come, Nigerian military neutralizes more Boko Haram fighters in Borno State. Join us in part 2 for details. Welcome back. Ogun State government has described traditional rulers in the state as partners in progress who have played advisory roles as well as guides to the present administration since inception. Governor Dapo Abiodun, who made this known at the official installation and presentation of staff of office to Obasikiru Ishola Adegbola, the Alaye of Onira Aguda in Ipokia local government area, said the efforts of the traditional councils have contributed to the massive growth and development which his administration has recorded, especially at the grassroots. Governor Abiodun urged Obasikiru Adegbola to encourage his people at home and in the diaspora to come together for the improvement of the socio-economic development of the community, which he noted will bring the town to an enviable position in a short time.
Grant us the opportunity to witness this grand occasion of installation and presentation of staff of office and instrument of appointment to Kabiyesi Obasikiru Ishola Oluwariko Adegbola as the new Alaye of Onira Aguda in Ipokia local government.
In his acceptance speech, Obasikiru Adegbola expressed his gratitude to the state government, promising to expend all efforts to achieve the greatness of Onira Aguda and Ipokia at large. In a related development, Ogun State government has charged the new Okwo-Fidoshemo Oba James Ajani Igbowu to concentrate on the task of accelerating the pace of socio-economic development in ways that his efforts will complement the initiatives of the present administration. The governor, who was represented by the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftains Affairs, Honorable Afolabi Afakbe, assured that his administration would not relent in its effort at positioning the state to its desired altitude among Committee of State in terms of growth and development.
Witness this great occasion of the tradition and presentation of staff of management office to Kabiyesi Oba James Ajani Adegbola Igbowu as the new
In his welcome address, the Chairman Transition Committee, Honorable Abdulkabir Abolore, enjoined the people of Fidoshemo community to cooperate with Kabiyesi so as to bring speedy development to the town. In his acceptance speech, Oba James Ajani Igbowu appreciated Governor Abiodun for the opportunity given him to sit on the stool of his forefathers and to serve Idoshima and Ipokia at large. He called for cooperation and support from his people, assuring that he will use the opportunity to channel a good cause for the town. Similarly, the new Oba Onitigbo of Tigboilu, Oba Olapode, Thomas Fagbayi, and the entire community of Tigboilu have been advised to join hands together to create sustainable, conducive environment for credible investors to do business in a town. Ogun State Governor Prince Dapo Abiodun, who gave the advice at the installation and presentation of staff of office to the new Onitigbo of Tigboilu in Ado-Dota local government area of the state, said such cooperation will be collaborative efforts with the government, which has been providing essential amenities for the citizenry. Governor Abiodun, who was represented by the Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftains Affairs, Afolabi Afakwe, said that all hands must be on deck to pave way for speedy development in all sectors of the traditional, social, and economic life, adding that they should intensify the spirit of communal efforts, having the Kabiyesi at the forefront.
We remain sternly committed to our diverse, knowledgeable, and people-oriented program geared towards ensuring equitable development of every part of the state, so as to continually improve the standard of living of the entire people of the state. I do therefore seek your cooperation and ensuring that the labor of our heroes past and present development of the state is not in vain by giving your support assurance to this administration.
In his welcome address, the Chairman, Transition Committee of the Local Government, Wasiu Lawal, said unity among the people will hasten development to the land, asking for more government intervention in the infrastructure of the community. In his acceptance speech, Oba Taiwo Thomas Fagbayi reaffirmed his unflinching commitment to the opportunity given him to propagate the development agenda, promising to synergize efforts with other traditional rulers to put Awuri land in an enviable position. As Nigeria gears up to resume international flights, the federal government has vowed to employ the principle of reciprocity in granting permission to airlines to restart operations. Speaking on the flight ban imposed by some countries against Nigeria, the Director General of the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu, explained that the federal government will not hesitate to mete out the same measure to those nations which he did not mention. The principle of reciprocity will be applied. The conditions to give Nigerians who travel to your country will be applied to the same thing. The NCAA DG, who represented the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, said during a briefing of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19. Despite fears about the safety of passengers, the NCAA DG gave an insight into preparations being made by the government. He said a meeting was held with operators of foreign airlines on the requirement for the safe reopening of international flights, assuring that the modalities will be released soon. Former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan will lead other West African leaders to Cotonou, Mali on Saturday to help the search for solutions. Mali's elected president Ibrahim Keita was overthrown on Tuesday by mutating troops who took him, as well as Prime Minister Bobo Sise and other senior officials, into custody. Earlier on Tuesday, before the coup, Jonathan, while briefing Nigeria's president Muhammadu Buhari, said Mali's main opposition group, M5, was adamant on its call for the resignation of Keita. ECOWAS had on Thursday announced that it will dispatch a high-level delegation to ensure the immediate return of constitutional order and demanded that Keita be restored as president, and warned the junta that it bore responsibility for the safety and security of the detainees. Report on Friday has it that former President Jonathan, who is the ECOWAS Special Envoy to Mali, alongside 14 other leaders in the regional bloc, will be in the Malian capital of Bamako on Saturday for peace talks with the junta leaders, including Assimi Goïta, who has declared himself head of the junta. Reacting to the request for a meeting with the leaders, a junta official said the body will receive the ECOWAS delegation with pleasure. It is important to talk to our brothers, he said. The United Nations said on Friday it had gained access to Mali's ousted president, while rebel troops said they had released 2 other detained leaders in development that followed mounting international pressure on the junta. A team from MINUSMA Human Rights went to Kaiti in the framework of its mandate to protect human rights and was able to gain access to President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta and other detainees, the UN peacekeeping mission said. A team separately, a member of the junta speaking on condition of anonymity, said it had authorized a UN human rights mission to visit all 19 prisoners in Kati, including Keïta and Prime Minister Bobo Sise. The source said that the junta had released former Economic Minister Abdullahi Dafe and Sabani Mahal Modu, Keïta's private secretary. The 2020 World Entrepreneur Day has been celebrated in Ogun State with a program to showcase the potentials of baby entrepreneurs in the state in skills acquisition and entrepreneurial development. The program, held at the Valley View Auditorium, Government House, Okegwe, Abeokuta, which had young entrepreneurs from secondary schools across the state, was put together by Ogun State Entrepreneurship Activity Hub with full support from the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology and German Agency for International Development. Matthew Shome reports.
As the nation continues in search of a way out of the problem of youth unemployment, the solution may be found in entrepreneurship and vocational skills development, which is why Ogun State Entrepreneurship Activity Hubs has decided to celebrate the 2020 World Entrepreneurship Day by showcasing the baby entrepreneurs in the state with the hope of exposing them to numerous opportunities which abound in the sector. The young entrepreneurs were drawn from secondary schools across the state to come forward to showcase what they have been able to come up with through the guidance and mentorship provided by the students' entrepreneurship activity hubs in their various schools. Wife of the state governor was represented by wife of the Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, Mrs. Victoria Oluomo. Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, represented by Mr. Johnson Odeyemi, says the program will go a long way in calling attention to the importance of entrepreneurship in the development of any economy.
Prince Ababiodun MFR encourages that trade subjects like tailoring, GSM repairs, photography, animal husbandry, to mention a few, are taught in our secondary schools.
President of Ogun State Chamber of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture, Alhaji Wasiu Olaleye, says if this type of initiative can be encouraged, it will put the nation on the path of industrial revolution.
If you catch this our youth at the young age and encourage them to key into productivity like this, producing something.
Chairman of the organization, Ashoju Oba Michael Adesanya, declares that as the future leader, everything the young entrepreneurs will need to stand on their own, be employers and solution providers, will be inculcated in them.
It's a day dedicated to appreciating producers, entrepreneurs, those who start business afresh, and that is why we say we must start something like this in Ogun State.
Various items, which are the products of their entrepreneurial and vocational skills, were exhibited by the students, at the end of which Golden Crown Agricultural School, Awa Ijebu, emerged as second runners-up, Reverend Kuti Memorial Grammar School, Abeokuta, as first runners-up, while the winner was Ijebu Igbo Girls Grammar School. Some individuals were awarded for their contributions to entrepreneurial development in the states. Matthew Shoumi, Ogtv News.
The All Progressives Congress Campaign Council for the Edo governorship election has raised an alarm over the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in the state ahead of the September 19 election. The Vice Chairman, Communication and Publicity Committee of the Council, Patrick Obayagbon, who was flanked by the committee chairman, John Mayaki, raised the alarm at a press briefing in Abuja on Friday. Obayagbon also allegedly said political thugs were being imported from neighboring states by the People's Democratic Party. He expressed disappointment that firearms were now being freely distributed and used by thugs as if they were political chewing gums. The national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Uche Secondus, had at a press conference in Abuja on Thursday raised an alarm over an alleged plot by the APC to put pressure on the Independent National Electoral Commission to postpone the election. Secondus had warned that the PDP will not accept the postponement of the election. However, Obayagbon dismissed insinuations that the APC was pushing for a postponement of an election it was poised to win. The Nigeria Police Force has invited a former Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Obadiah Mailafa, to its Abuja office on Monday. The police probe comes despite a separate investigation of the former CBN governor by the Department of State Services. The DSS had last week invited Mailafa to its Jos office over comments he made in a radio interview wherein he stated that an unidentified northern governor was a Boko Haram commander. Mailafa was the presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress in the last election, said he got the information from some former Boko Haram fighters. In an invitation letter addressed to Mailafa, however, the police did not reveal the reason for the invitation. The letter was signed by the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Admin Umar Sanda, on behalf of the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Force Criminal Investigation Department, Abuja. Sustained airstrikes being conducted by the Air Task Force of Operation Lafayette under the subsidiary Operation Hailstorm have continued to yield tangible results. The latest of these is the destruction of several Boko Haram terrorist structures and neutralization of their fighters at Washel in northern part of Borno State. A statement by the Coordinator, Defense Media Operations, Defense Headquarters, Major General John Aneche, has it that the mission was executed after credible intelligence reports and series of aerial surveillance which established that the settlement was one of those being used by the terrorists. Consequently, the Air Task Force dispatched Nigerian Air Force fighter jets and attack helicopters which engaged the location, recording devastating hits that led to obliteration of several structures and neutralization of some of the terrorists. The Armed Forces of Nigeria, operating in concert with other security agencies on its efforts to rid the northeast of all terrorists and other criminal elements. On the business news segment, it's now time to bring you business news. Welcome back. This is the business segment of the news. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, has intensified efforts to ensure the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill. The Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Temipre Sylvia, has explained that there are ongoing talks with the National Assembly for the federal lawmakers to consider suspending the annual recess to expedite the passage of the bill. Sylvia said his ministry, headed by President Buhari, had finished the drafting work, while the Minister of Justice had also finished aligning the bill with the existing laws in the industry. According to him, what is left now is for the lawmakers to receive the draft and move ahead to pass the bill. The minister added that he has been in touch with the lawmakers who had assured him that the bill will not stay in the National Assembly more than 6 months from the time they received the draft before its passage into law. The minister expressed optimism that the bill will be expeditiously processed, given that it has taken the country years to get it to this stage. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has told the Senate that 48 million barrels of crude oil were not missing in the country, as widely reported. It also challenged the National Assembly to carry out a forensic audit on its operations at its own cost. The chairman of the Joint Committee, Senator Solomon Adiola, had demanded for evidence and not verbal denial. The Group Managing Director of NNPC, Mele Kyari, who was represented by the Chief Finance Officer, Umar Ajiya, said there were no records of ships that sailed out of the Nigerian waters with such contrabands. He also said there was also no such clearance from the Nigerian Navy and the Directorate of Petroleum Resources. Power generation in the country fell to 3,356 megawatts on Thursday, less than 2 days after a new peak of 5,420.30 megawatts was achieved. The Transmission Company of Nigeria announced that the nation's power industry had achieved yet another all-time national peak of 5,420 megawatts. The TCN, in a statement, said the megawatt was effectively transmitted through the national grid at a frequency of 50.10 gigahertz at 9 in the evening on Tuesday, but total generation plunged to 3,356.4 megawatts as at 6 in the morning on Thursday, from 3,877.5 megawatts at the same time on Wednesday. The world today focuses on the U.S. presidential election later in the year. Details after the break. Welcome back. Newly minted Democratic White House nominee Joe Biden said U.S. President Donald Trump has cloaked America in darkness for much too long. And German doctors insist Alexei Navalny can be airlifted. Details in this package. Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny, in a coma after being taken ill on a plane, is able to be transported by air, German doctors said after visiting him. Russian doctors treating Mr. Navalny in the Siberian city of Omsk had said he was too ill to be moved. His supporters suspect he was poisoned and accused the authorities of trying to cover up a crime. A medically equipped plane is waiting in Omsk to take him to Germany for treatment. Doctors in Omsk say no poison was found in his body, but health officials have indicated that traces of an industrial chemical had been found on his skin and hair. In a preliminary diagnosis on Friday, local doctors said his condition might be the result of a metabolic disorder caused by low blood sugar. They also said he was too unstable to be transported by air. However, Mr. Navalny's team said it was deadly for him to remain in hospital. Belarusians will never accept President Lukashenko's leadership, opposition challenger Svetlana Tikhanovskaya said on Friday at her first news conference since fleeing to Lithuania.
Today, Belarus has woken up. Hundreds of thousands of people are coming out on the streets of the country and are prepared to say, resign. Thousands of workers have announced that they are on strike in order to say, enough is enough. Enough lying, intimidating, anarchy and violence. Violence must stop. Political prisoners must be released, and elections must be held anew, free, fair and transparent.
Meanwhile, inside Belarus, authorities arrested a leader of striking factory workers on Friday, raising pressure on the opposition. Belarusian investigators also summoned 3 leading opposition activists for questioning as part of a criminal probe into the creation of a coordination council intended to facilitate the transition of power. Joe Biden has formally accepted the Democratic Party's presidential nomination, describing in a televised speech to a virtual convention his vision for a new United States that is facing multiple crises at once. In a week in which the U.S. death toll from COVID-19 passed 117,000, the former vice president promised to deliver the honest, unvarnished truth and spoke directly to people who have lost loved ones to the virus. Biden delivered his speech without the cheers of nearly 4,000 delegates who would have packed the convention hall in Milwaukee with concern. In that unusual setting, he achieved a conversational intimacy with viewers by speaking directly into the camera without interruptions. Joe Biden gave the speech of his lifetime and he accomplished what he needed to, presenting an optimistic, forward-thinking voice for voters. And that's it on The World Today. That was The World Today. Sport News will come up with Moses Ojomi. Stay tuned.
It's nice to have you join us on Sport News. What athletics president Lord Coe says staging Tokyo Olympics without fans is a possibility, but a difficult one, which is worth doing. The president of the London 2012 Organizing Committee added that athletics may have to think out of the box if the Olympic Games do not go ahead in 2021. The Tokyo Games have been pushed back a year because of coronavirus, and Coe says there are no certainties they will happen on the new date, hence the possibility of holding it behind closed doors. While lamenting the badly disrupted season, he suggested other events could be organized to replace those cancelled. And now to football stories. Manchester United captain Harry Maguire has been arrested following an incident on the island of Mykonos. On Thursday, the England defender, 27, is on holiday in Greece. United say Maguire is fully cooperating with the Greek authorities following an alleged incident. The Cyprus prosecutor's office said on Friday that 3 foreigners had been arrested following an alleged altercation with police officers in Mykonos. Maguire joined United from Leicester for £80 million, a world record fee for a defender, in August 2019. England captain Harry Kane should be available for the Nations League games next month, despite being in quarantine following a trip to the Bahamas. Tottenham striker Kane, 27, was on holiday in the Caribbean when the island was added to the UK quarantine list on 7th August. He is now in self-isolation for 14 days after returning home. Kane is expected back in Spurs training next week before the Premier League opener against Everton on 12th September. On Tuesday, England manager Gareth Southgate is due to name his squad for matches against Ireland and Denmark on 5th and 8th September. Francis Uzor is elated to return to full training again after spending time on the sidelines due to a knee ligament injury. Uzor picks up the injury in Nigeria's friendly clash against Brazil in October 2019. The young goalkeeper was stretchered off after the hour mark and missed the rest of the campaign as a result of the setback. The 21-year-old joined Cyprus club Apoel from Spanish outfit Deportivo La Coruña last month. He spent last season on loan at another Cyprus club, Omonia. And back to athletics. Briton Mo Farah will be the pacemaker for the elite men's race at October's rescheduled London Marathon. Farah, 37, is among the competitors to have achieved the Olympic qualifying time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, 30 seconds. Kenyan Eliud Kipchoge, who won last year's event, leads the men's field with Kenisisa Bekele of Ethiopia. Reduced fields of 30 to 40 athletes will also compete for the elite women's and wheelchair titles on 4th October. The races will take place on biosecure closed course amid the coronavirus pandemic. And that's all on sport news. Back to Mojisola.
Thank you, Moses. It's another Friday and time to serve you entertainment news. On entertainment news this week, FAWS and other stakeholders beg the federal government to reopen the entertainment industry. Let's now join Olayinka Shodunke for details.
Ace rapper Folarin Falana, popularly known as FAWS, has called on the federal government to reopen the entertainment industry. The son of human rights lawyer Femi Falana made this known in a string of tweets on Monday, shortly after the Minister of Aviation, Adi Sidika, announced August 29 as the reopening date for international flights. Like most public places, cinemas and other recreational outlets were shut in March to curtail the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. But while some public places like markets, banks, airports, amongst others have been allowed to reopen, cinemas, beaches and other places of relaxation remain closed. Reacting, FAWS wrote, "Restaurants have reopened, airlines have been operating, places of worship have also been permitted to reopen. Let's not even start to talk about all the videos that have surfaced of political rallies happening, clearly neglecting all safety precautions. The entertainment industry must be allowed to gradually get back in business. Let's start with cinemas reopening with all the safety precautions in place." Also, a lawmaker representing Egbeda Onwara Federal Constituency in the House of Assembly, Akin Alabi, tweeted, "It's no longer making sense that cinemas are still closed. They have assured the government and the public that they are ready to open at less than half capacity. Planes are flying full capacity. Parties are going on. Don't let mention rallies." Olayinka.
Thank you, Yinka. Afropop, a genre of pop music, has started to make its way into mainstream popularity. The music genre, once limited to African culture, is trending worldwide and also influencing global culture. In this special report, Muyoluwa Ajayi examines the global acceptance of Afropop music, the gains and effect of the artist. Her report is presented in this package.
Afropop music has been getting a great boost in recent years as African artists seek to dominate new markets through interface collaboration with American top rappers. Several African artists have signed their record deals with American label, bringing fans from far beyond Africa and across border.
Gives us a lot of edge and a lot of opportunity to reach out to everyone in the world.
It's been really great seeing artists that a lot of us know in Africa make it on New York radio.
The music is spreading not only to Africans in the diaspora, but non-Africans. And even though they don't understand the language necessarily, but they can feel the soul in the music.
For me, I feel like it's just gonna really bring this industry mainstream, you know, and it's still gonna do a lot. It's gonna contribute, like, probably take over the world, because that's like, everyone has a little bit of Afro-pop like sound inspired, like Afro beats.
Despite growing popularity, many artists are still struggling to achieve financial success in their music.
Number one challenge is finance. You need good financial backup. Secondly, we have poor management. As Afro-pop artists, you know, we need to work on that, largely on that.
Our stars are facing a lot of problems when it comes to promotional empowerment, then and the piracy, the pirates. We are still facing a lot of problems, 100%. That was the problem, but we make good music. A lot of money are not coming to us. A lot of money are going to the pirates.
Respondents highlight the effect of the acceptance of Afropop music and the way out.
Acceptance of Afropop is never going to have any negative effect or any disadvantage on us. The government has to provide us with a regulatory body that will control everything, and we don't just work in vain. We don't just work for people that does not have any content or any creativity to it, you know.
Like Pop Daddy said in the tweet, I think that was last week or so, about working with Burna Boy. He made mention that he has actually wanted to work with Afropop artists for a very long time. And he said this is the right time, and the first black person, the first Afropop artist is working with, and it's a big step.
The acceptance of Afropop is all about we taking our music serious and giving it more life.
You know, a lot of things are against, you know, the African brand, but it's beautiful to see that despite that, we're soaring high and above, and that's a good thing. And I'm thankful for everybody who supports the African Afrobeats music and everything. It's beautiful.
As African artists seek to dominate new markets, respondents called on African countries to see the need to build up their own music industry.
It was a glorious call for Assistant Pastor, Redeemed Christian Church of God, Province 14, Lagos, Pastor Paul Adeomi, whose commitment to the service of God and humanity is immeasurable. Pastor Steve Jayoba, at the funeral service for the deceased, described him as a true prophet of God and lover of all. Dignitaries from all walks of life witnessed the burial ceremony in Lagos State. Yusuf Ganiu reports.
You are even higher than them, you are even better than them, because you have the Spirit of God in you. They don't have.
The solemn gathering of family members, friends, and associates of Pastor Paul Adeomi, the Assistant Pastor of Redeemed Christian Church of God, Province 14, Lagos, is an evidence and reflection of a life well spent. The Christian work was in line with COVID-19 protocols that characterized with Bible reading, hymns, and testimonies to celebrate the demise of a man of God who died at the age of 55.
For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first.
The legacy you put down will never go down into trade. And I am promising you today, the name Adeomi will be there.
It's a true man of God.
a man with uncommon gifts.
He's a man of God who was called by revelations of Jesus Christ. Jesus is very visited because he's an extreme Muslim and he gave his life to Christ.
In his short exhortation, Pastor Steve Jayoba says death is inevitable, hence the need for all mortals to give their lives to Christ and always remember the last day in whatever they do.
Those that will sleep in the Lord, I need to emphasize that, those that will sleep in the Lord before the rapture, one thing that is very clear is that a glorious day awaits everyone and anyone who sleeps in the Lord or who is caught up in rapture.
The body of the deceased was later interred at the Ebony Vault in Ikoyi, Lagos. Pastor Paul Adeumi was described as an epitome of grace and love.
A true prophet of God, sent by God. And he had the heart of Jesus, always compassionate on people. He was ready to go the extra mile for everybody.
He's a man that shapes destinies. I've seen destinies that were down, totally out, that you know that there's nothing good that can come out of their lives. But when they came in contact with Pastor Paul Adeumi, their lives was never the same again.
The deceased graduated with a bachelor degree in History and International Relations from the Lagos State University. Aged 55, Pastor Paul Adeumi is survived by wife and children. Yusuf Ganiyu, Ogtv News.
The death has occurred of Pa Oladuni Aremu, Sonny of Ayetoro in Yiwa North Local Government Area of Ogun State. Aged 86, Pa Sonny, a legal luminary, died in the early hours of Friday, August 21, 2020 in Abeokuta. He is survived by a wife, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Burial arrangements will be announced later by the family. Just before we end the news, let's bring you the weather forecast. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. You can watch us live on these platforms: Apple, Roku, Windows, BlackBerry, Facebook, and Android devices. You can also watch live on Ogtv website, www.ogtv.com.ng/live. The main stories once again. Ogun State government is mapping out strategies for schools upgrade across the 3 senatorial districts. We also told you that Ogun State House of Assembly has tasked the State Police Command on land grabbing law implementation. The nation's power sector sunk to 3,356 megawatts within 24 hours. Counterclaims continued to trail the airlifting of poisoned Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. And the World Athletics Body is mulling Tokyo Olympic Games without fans. We have come to the end of Ogtv Comprehensive News. We thank you for watching. Goodbye.
In fulfillment of its promise to provide affordable housing for the good people of Ogun State across the 3 senatorial districts of the state, the Prince Dakwabiano-led administration has commenced the second phase of its housing scheme under the Ogun State Affordable Housing Project at the following locations: Prince Quarter State Phase 2, Kobakwe, GRA Resettlement Kentai Diaba 2, Shagamu Wapko, Ijebode, Ota, Ilaro, and Iperu. Interested subscribers to this housing scheme should please visit the Ogun State Ministry of Housing, Block C, Governor's Office, OK Moson, or the Ogun State Housing Corporation, GRA, Ibarra Housing Estate, at Belkota for application forms at 5,000 Naira only. Ogun State Housing for All.